And it was our first experience really sitting with a large group of users and trying out the product. And we learned so many things about the way users expect a product like QuickCode to work and how our product actually did work. And the biggest thing we learned was...
Before we get started with the show, here's a quick word from our sponsor, Global Training Center. As trade compliance professionals, you want to make sure that your procedures and documentation are completed as correctly as possible to avoid any delays and possible fines. We provide a range of trade compliance courses that will fit your needs. From in-person or web training to recorded on-demand courses, we can train one or even thousands on your team through your learning platform or on our portal. We can even customize a private session for your team. Go to globaltrainingcenter.com to find out more.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for joining us again here on our podcast. This is a very special show, only because, we've been talking about this all week. This is our anniversary week. So we are having our first anniversary this week, and we decided to roll out a few ideas that we had here for the show. So some of those ideas that you already are aware of, because we've already aired some of those shows. So we have different formats for the show, only so that we can address and entertain, per se, ideas of other listeners that they would like to view or learn from. So we decided to kind of just have a few different formats of the show. We have the government affairs show. We have, or episodes, I shouldn't say show, because they're all going to be on the same channel. So anyway, so we have the government affairs. We also have crimes. So we're calling it crimes. We're jumping on that bandwagon. Sorry about that, but we're jumping on that true crime podcast bandwagon only because we're doing our own version of it, trade true crimes. So we hope you enjoy that format. And of course, talking about people in trade, not necessarily about trade, but people who are in trade, that people that they have come on the show, they might want to give a background of how they got here and everything, which people admire and actually like to know how is it that someone got to where they are in trade. And of course, our regular show. And then lastly, we have also this format that we're going to introduce here, which is our tech format. So all of them are going to be called Simply Trade something. Simply Trade Tech, Simply Trade Crimes, Simply Trade Affairs, Simply Trade People. Actually, we're going to put a Southern twist to it like we have on our show. As you all may know, our show is a lot like a little Western-y. So, it's Southern. So it's going to be Simply Trade Folks. and then our regular show. So those will run on occasion. Our regular show always will run every week, and all the other shows will run, maybe once every 2 weeks, or, piggyback or jump leapfrog over each other and stuff like that. So, but anyway, we hope you do enjoy. Please do comment and let us know what you think. But to kick this tech format, to kick it off, I reached out to a couple of people that we met earlier this year in March. Really impressed with them. And I know people are tired of hearing this, that they know that my background is in tech, but that's just the way it is, but anyway, and of course I get fascinated with that. I get fascinated with all the new technology. We embrace as much as we can here on technology here at Global Training Center. Amongst that, AI, of course, that's the latest and the big buzzword that seems to be sticking. We heard a lot about blockchain. I'm not saying blockchain is gone, but there's just not that much hype on it anymore. I feel like it's got a very good place in the industry right now for blockchain. It's just we don't hear too much about it. We don't hear too much about Web3, which is part of blockchain. But anyway, and of course now AI. So it's a little sticky now. It's actually gone longer than other trends, let's call it. And so we're very fascinated with that. I really like the idea of automating and helping you do work using AI technology. And also there's the fear, AI is going to replace us, computers are going to replace us, etc. So totally disagree with that. Our guests may feel the same way, and we'll ask them. But my opinion is that there's no way that humans or a computer can do a lot of the work, but there still be a human there needing to improve it or verify it in some cases. And in this case, what we're talking about is tariff classification. So we have our guests coming on from QuickCode AI, and I met them again, or we met them at the ICPA conference over in Orlando in March. Really cool technology. I sat there and I watched people play with it. I mean, people were just loving it. I mean, it's like a new toy for everyone. And so we also talked to them again at GTech a few weeks ago. But let's go ahead and bring them on. We have Joe Morales and Shannon Hines, both of them from QuickCode. They'll explain their roles at QuickCode. But what we're also going to do, by the way, I forgot to say this. This is actually going to be a demo. We're actually going to talk about how the software works, the functionality and everything. Of course, you're not going to be able to see that on the audio version of the podcast. So jump over to the show notes so you can see the link on there as to where you can see the video. Just please make sure you do that, because the video is going to be more valuable than the actual audio. Although we're going to try to convey as best as we can on the audio. So Shannon and Joe, welcome back to our show.
Thanks, Lalo. Thanks for having us.
Oh, sure. Well, I'm so excited. I mean, like I said, it's the technology and the advancements and the time savings. That's my opinion. That's what it is. Time savings. Your tool can take somebody from doing classification hours, down to minutes, maybe, and get them, good, far way ahead of the game, and you probably have better stats and everything, but I'm just saying, instead of cutting it down 50, 60, 70, maybe 80%, who knows more. I mean, but I feel that that's what the big value behind that tool.
Hi everyone, are you loving our podcast? Do you feel like watching instead of just listening to our episodes? We have started to share our podcast videos on our trade community, www.crowd.trade, where you can view the complete show, comment, and carry conversations with your peers. We have built a trade community around our training courses and different resources for you to collaborate and gain the knowledge you are looking for. Head over to crowd.trade and register for your free account. Let's start trading.
Yeah, thanks, Lalo. I definitely agree with that. The goal is to reduce the time. The goal is to keep the human in the loop, as that actually is the law right now, right? Is that a human must be involved in classification. That law may change, but our customers are seeing 5 to 10%. I'm sorry, not percent. 5 to 10 times, 5 to 10x improvement in the speed. And not just the speed, but the efficiency. And that means all of the resources are right there that you can then reference again if you need to go back. You don't have to look them up again. You don't, all the rulings, all the WCO notes, all of the full text of the schedule is there if you need it when you go back. So yes, we are absolutely thrilled to be here. We, as Lalo said, we are an AI company. We use large language model. I'll let Joe talk about that in a second. Large language model is different than traditional machine learning, but it definitely is a game changer in HS classification.
And Shannon, I'm sorry, Joe. Shannon, what's your role in?
Sorry.
No, that's fine.
So, I am Shannon Hines. I am the CEO of QuickCode. We started QuickCode about 2 years ago as a text classification company using AI, and we have developed this product to solve a very specific problem in the marketplace, which is I have a description from a commercial invoice and I need to put an HS code on it. And it's a challenge. It's really hard to do. The description rarely has enough information to actually provide the classification. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but there are lots of things we can do to help a user along the way.
Yeah, I'm Joe Morales. I'm the CTO of QuickCode. I'm responsible for the product development. And let me just talk a little bit about kind of our QuickCode's origin story. As Shannon said, we had an AI product that was not in the trade space, but did text classification. And we started talking to users and looking for different types of problems that we could solve. And we came across a customs broker who said, hey, HS classification is a problem in the customs industry. It's something that professionals spend a lot of time on, and it's a bit of an art combined with science. This is a problem that maybe AI could come to bear on. So we talked to dozens, approaching 100 different trade professionals about how do you do HS classification, what's important, how does it work, and it's kind of synthesized all that, put it into our AI product, and built a workflow that allows users to do HS classification using AI to assist them.
Nice. Yeah, great. I mean, and I was also noticing that since the first time I saw this, you added a bunch of other helpers. I guess we'll not a bunch, but a few other helpers on in the system, and I guess like a co-pilot. I guess that's also part of the buzzword. I don't think you guys call it a co-pilot, but it could run along and help you with justifying why it's classifying something. So anyway, but we will talk about that as we go along. I don't know, Shannon. So anything you might want to talk about? I guess you're going to show us here a little bit on the screen.
Our product, when Lalo saw our product at ICPA in Orlando, it was brand new. It wasn't even commercially available then. And it was our first experience really sitting with a large group of users and trying out the product. And we learned so many things about the way users expect a product like QuickCode to work and how our product actually did work. And the biggest thing we learned was, number one, the users never use the product the way that we envision, which is why you want to put it in front of real people as opposed to us. I think that's the biggest thing. But they also expect QuickCode to be transparent. I need to understand why something is being suggested or recommended. So QuickCode is actually, as we call it, AI assist. A user sits down with a description and we go from there. It walks the schedule, but as Joe says, it takes into account all of the resources that are available to the user. It mimics their traditional workflow, which is I have a description. I might start with the general rules of interpretation. I might start with the WCO explanatory notes. I might start with the rulings. Everyone has a little bit different process. But at the end of the day, all of those things have to be taken into account. We use large language model, which is the most modern type of AI text classification or AI in general, to help us synthesize that information and get the user a series of questions that are related directly from the schedule to drive them to the code that's of interest. But they care about transparency. It's not enough for us just to give them the right code. They want to know why. And this has really been our philosophy from the beginning, and we have now happily implemented it. So when you were at ICPA, you saw a version of QuickCode that didn't have that transparent why. The newest version does have it. We're really excited about it. I think it's been really helpful for users. I don't know, Joe, if you want to add anything more about that process or that technology.
Well, I was just say one of the things that we think sets us apart from other attempts that have been made to do AI-assisted HS classification is that the technology, the AI technology, has just completely transformed and exploded in the last few years. Everybody has read about ChatGPT in the newspaper. That's kind of the big buzzword. That is an example, the best example of the transformation that has happened in this industry and just relatively recently. And we are taking advantage. We were kind of at the right place at the right time to take advantage of that technology and bring that to bear on this HS classification problem, which is fundamentally kind of a text classification problem. You have a text description of an item. You have a bunch of text resources, which are the schedule, the description of the schedule, the cross-binding rulings, the explanatory notes from WCO, the rules of interpretation. You have to synthesize all these text sources and understand how the text of your description applies to that. And that is something that is really well suited to a large language model like ChatGPT. And so, like I said, we're taking advantage of that technology. We're using that to make the best recommendations and also to explain to the user, hey, this is why this particular product might be classified under this particular HS code.
Great. And will it work better if you, like Shannon, you said, a description on the invoice, if you prompt it with a description of invoice versus like an engineering description?
I would say it really depends on the engineering description, but I will also say in theory, both should work, right? Just like a physician understands the technical term for your thigh bone, femur, I think it is. QuickCode should know that a thigh bone and a femur are the same thing. And that is the beauty of large language model. That really is. So I think the answer is both should work. One of the things that we've done, which we've had great success with, is we run the HS classification questions from the licensed customs brokers exam through QuickCode to see how it does. It does very well. It does very, and the reason I mention that, those are really long descriptions. They throw in a lot of information, some intended to be, it's not, some of it is not pertinent and some is, and that's part of the challenge, of course, for the brokers. So I do wonder if we should just get started maybe on the demo and see where it takes us and see what questions you might have along the way. It also helps us to explain our product a little bit better. Okay, great. So QuickCode is based in the cloud. It's completely secure, and we can talk about security if that's important to your listeners. But it is fully secure, and your data is always your data. And I lead with that because one of the questions people have in AI always is, are you using my data to make your product better? And the short answer is no. And the longer answer is no, your data is always your data. We may use your data to help us learn how the product isn't working well, but we're not training with your data. And that's really important for people to know. So you come into QuickCode, it's based in the cloud, it's completely secure. You have your own account. You might have a team account. We won't go into the details of that. And you literally just start by typing something in. And I'm going to start with something simple, but something that came from a user, which is printed business cards. A tricky one for a variety of reasons, but printed business cards, like you would have, as part of your you would pass off to other business colleagues. The first thing that QuickCode does that's different and new is it says, here's what might help to get a better result if QuickCode is having a hard time understanding. So sometimes a user will put in something and QuickCode doesn't know what it is. And a good example came at ICPA. We had someone sit down and type in ping 9 iron. QuickCode had a hard time knowing what that was. We all know it is a golf club, but QuickCode had a hard time. And so it was making recommendations related to iron and steel, right? It makes sense. It was just kind of doing some kind of basic keyword search, and it wasn't coming up with anything good. So we added this add to description in case what's being recommended to you isn't right. And users who use our product know that a ping 9 iron would not how to classify probably into steel. So they could add a description just by clicking it. I'm not going to add it there here just because this is a really nice and clean example that I'm going to walk through. But I could add portable professional contact information, for instance, or a professional contact tool if I felt like QuickCode didn't understand. But QuickCode does understand, and it understands that it likely classifies into one of two items. These are right out of the tariff book, Chapter 49, which is printed material, or Chapter 48, which is pretty much unprinted material. It recommends this because there are some exceptions to the printed rule. And so it says it's possible that it could be in here, but we think it's sorted by most relevant. We think it's in Chapter 49. But notice now we have this why. And the why helps us understand why did QuickCode recommend this? And it gives a very short summary. It includes products of the printing industry. And the classification of printed business cards falls under Chapter 49 related to printed products. So it's saying that's what we believe. But we can get more information by clicking on here. And we can see that there's some more information that contributed to that. There actually is a ruling related to printed business cards. I won't open it, but I could open that and I would see the rulings. And there's also a WCO note that talks about printed information. And that's really helpful. By the way, these are the WCO explanatory notes that are available to subscribers, not available on the free tier. We have a license for that, so I want to make that clear because it was right from WCO. So we can know more. This is really helpful. There's a ruling, there's a note that I can read, which I won't go into. So I'm pretty sure it's Chapter 49. I select Chapter 49. what happens is the AI is working here, actually goes all the way down. And this is a little bit of a challenge for a user. What's happened here is QuickCode has said, I'm going to classify all the way to the end for you. You don't need to answer any more questions. And the reason is I have a pretty good idea of what it is based on this ruling and the other data that I have available to me from the schedule. So, and you can see this is a tricky one, right? It classifies into chapter 49 and then all the others, which is hard. This is really hard. There's no place in the schedule that says printed business card. You're not going to find it. So the AI has to be able to make that leap, and that's how it does it. So that's what's happened, and then I can see why, and I will get that same ruling again. So I'm just going to pick up where we left off. QuickCode, the AI goes all the way to the bottom. It tells us, I got to find the right screen here. What has happened is it has filled in all of these answers for us. Sometimes QuickCode will ask questions because it doesn't know the answers. But in this case, it went all the way down. A user can always select and see what did it miss. In this case, there's a whole bunch of things that show up that were there that QuickCode bypassed because it didn't believe it was the right thing. Does that make sense? I'm going to stop there and see if you have any questions. This is a really simple example, but I think it's really illustrative of the best part of QuickCode, which is it makes these decisions for you. Of course, a skeptical user, they're going to go back and check every single thing. They should, but we got them there very quickly, and they didn't have to traverse that huge tariff book or that PDF themselves.
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense, and you can see how it's, I guess, see in quotes how it's thinking. You know how it's thinking, and it's going down through the process and deciding, making that final decision. And so what happens here? So I get classified. Will it store it on a database, or where is it going?
So every user has their own database of classifications. What happens here is that I would say, let's go. Let's see what's here. When I say let's go, the user immediately gets a whole bunch of resources that QuickCode has available to help them, that are related to the classification code, to help them then take that product forward. So of course, we have the tariff, right? The tariff itself, it's generally free. Okay. Column 2, of course, this is right out of the tariff book. We have the footnotes, and the footnotes, chapter 99, are the additional tariffs. So we actually have those outlined too, where the user could check that themselves. If they thought this applied, this is where the user, again, a human really needs to be involved to decide, does this additional tariff apply? And if so, they can click it. This tariff is particularly related to articles from products from China, right? So if these printed business cards came from China, this is what might show up, except as provided, et cetera, et cetera. I think HS classification users are very familiar with having to do this, so it's not surprising there. I won't go into it. If there were any PGAs, so printed business card, probably no PGAs, but you can imagine if it were livestock or meat or pharmaceutical products, and all kinds of things that I'm surprised about having PGAs, they would be identified here. Though it might have FDA, it might have EPA, et cetera. And then if there were any anti-dumping cases where this particular code had turned up as a potential anti-dumping case and potential duties, then that would also show up here with a list of those. This one doesn't have any, but that's where they would show up. We do that because the users have said to us, that's hard information. We got to go hunt it down somewhere else. It's really beneficial for us as users to be able to know that information ahead of time when we're sitting trying to make before we're making an entry. So that's why we do that. When I'm done, I can say, talk to the customer. I can put a little note. They agree, right? I can save it. I can generate a report. And this is a thing that the users have asked for. We first heard about it, I think, at ICPA, and then we ultimately built it, which is I create a report that I can send to my customer, or I can perhaps save as part of my own due diligence and reasonable care. And the user can look at this, and it's a PDF report. I think I won't go through the process of it now, but as a PDF report, it has the information of the questions I answered. It has the PGAs. It has the anti-dumping. It would have the additional tariffs as well. And this is my database right here of everything I've done.
Yeah, while we're on this page, let me point out a couple of things. You can see all your past classifications, the date that you did them, what the description was, and what you classified it as. You can also see that 2023 R10, that is the schedule version that was used to classify that. We scrape the HDS US website daily, and when they issue a new schedule version, we automatically import that, and then the new classifications are done on that. You can, in fact, choose what schedule version you want to do your classification on. Why is that important? Like if you wanted to check a classification you did a year ago, that would be an older version. We have all of those archive versions in the product, so you could go, I would just want to check what I did a year ago. You could go select the version that you had used a year ago to do the classification, and you can do a new classification using that version. And so that's a bunch of features I just want to point out.
Of course, this is useful and helpful. We are thinking about ways we can help the customer on either end get the data in and get the data out. Right now, this is a standalone product, but of course, the value is also going to come in integrations, which is, probably our next step.
Yeah, and we're talking to a couple of different trade software companies like Descartes and a couple others to see if, how we can work integrations to those products.
Right, so which makes sense, and that's where I was going to go at next. Obviously, someone has a big database on SAP, Oracle, whatever, of all their part numbers. This classification may have corresponded or linked to 10 of those part numbers. How do you link it or put it back on there, right? I mean, I know exactly what you're saying, so okay.
Right, yeah. So for now, right now, a user, would cut and paste. We have you can see we copy into clipboard and paste because they are very used to doing this. But the perfect world is it automatically connects, right? There's a connection. So when I put this in, I have some ability to connect it in. And that helps users. One of the use cases that we've seen is I want to check my existing product catalog. So they'll put in numbers and they'll put in a description, or they'll put in a number, either one, put in a description usually, and see how it classifies. You may not have to change it at all, but they want to be sure that it's still up to date.
Correct. Okay. And now I'm just going to make a side comment here. We could or could not add this on the podcast or not, depending on how your software handles it. But let me ask the question anyway. Now let's go into a little bit more. I'm not going to say complicated, but more decision making. So, for example, I like to use the example of the clock radio that sits on your nightstand, right? So there's a clock radio, and you put it on there. You put your iPhone there overnight to charge, right? But it's really cool because it's also a player, right? I mean, it'll take that iPhone or phone and use a speaker, and you can hear music a lot better, and et cetera, et cetera. And, there's models that are better than others and all that. But anyway, when you come on something like that, or a kit or a set or something that can it handle that, and how will it handle? How does it make that decision, or is there a lot more human interaction at that point?
There is a lot more human interaction there, and that is because it goes to essential character, which might be different from case to case. But I will tell you, if a similar product has already been classified, almost always there's a ruling we find with these kits especially, and it's always worth trying. We assume that the person who's doing the classification understands the nature of classification. I know that there are products that say, that's a kit, I can't do it. I've seen that. We've absolutely encountered that. But we also know that the data that the WCO notes and the data that we have collected from the ruling sometimes does describe those kits and sometimes does classify them. I don't know, Joe, if you want to say anything more about that.
Yeah, that's the important thing. When you talk about an expert has to make a decision as to what's the essential character of this clock, radio, iPhone charger. Is it a clock? Is it a radio? Is it an iPhone charger? Is it a player? There are rules in the GRI as to how to decide what that essential character is. But generally speaking, in those examples I've seen, users will just write to Customs and Border Patrol and say, please give me this is what I think it is, please give me a ruling on that. And so to the extent that's been done, our software will find it. And in fact, I think we should try this. I think we should try it, Lalo, and see how we do.
So it's
Awesome.
clock radio with iPhone charger. Is that what you want to try?
Yeah.
The first thing that comes up, here we go. Tariff classification of radio speakers with docking stations. It's probably not exactly the same, but it's probably something similar, right? So we can say Y on that, and we can look at the ruling, the tariff classification of a clock radio with the CD player, no. Tariff classification of battery, no. Here we go. Tariff classification of radio receivers with docking stations and speakers. I can look at that, and then I can read all this. Let's assume that it lines up, right? Then what I know is that QuickCode has probably found it, and that's what it is. Contains electrical components. I'll hit this. We'll see what happens. So tariff classification of radio receivers, docking stations, and speakers still relevant. Reception apparatus for radio broadcasting. La 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 la. That's probably it. We'll hit that. We go down the same process, Lalo, and eventually we believe that the first answer is always the right answer. So radio broadcast receivers capable of operating without an external source of power. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Not capable of operating without an external source of power or other. It thinks it's without. That's probably what the ruling was, but only the user then will know, does it have an external source of power or not? Does that make sense? So that's what's happened here.
So yeah, the point being is that these decisions of essential character are something that the AI cannot make for you, but what our product can do is, to the extent that someone has made that decision before, that has been documented a ruling, and in many cases it's discussed in the WCO explanatory notes or in the HTS notes, or in some cases, in the case of kits, it shows up in the schedule where Customs and Border Patrol has said has actually made an entry in the schedule that addresses kits. We will find those types of things. Our AI will find those types of things, and most importantly, bring them to the attention of the user so that the user can read the rulings, can read the notes. They can make an informed decision based on those rulings and notes. As Shannon pointed out, QuickCode will propose a decision for you. It'll propose what it thinks is the most likely tariff classification based on what it read. But the controls in the hands of the users to read that information and to make their own informed decision. Great.
And okay, so I do see that. Yeah, and it's always a case. We have a class, a course that we teach for specifically this on tariff classification. So we do everything manually from, it's a full day class. It's heads down. It's sometimes people say it should be 2 days, but I mean it is a full day. And then we'll use like this example and it's true. We always ask, what is this? Some people say, primarily it's a clock. Primarily it's a docking station. Primarily it's a speaker. So it depends. It's somebody's decision on that. And I can see why you need that interaction here to make sure that person. And I like the way you did it here as well, or the software does. It goes through and it says, well, here's a ruling, and this is what we feel it might be, et cetera. And that's really awesome how that does that works there. So cool. I'm glad. And this was not scripted, guys. Trust me. I just came up with it, and I felt like maybe we should throw this out there. So cool. Shannon, Joe, I know we're running out of time, so just let me know anything else you might want to cover before we wrap up, or anything you might want to say. I mean, just let me know. We do have a few more minutes here.
Yeah, well, I'll just say a couple of things. First off, so the software we've demonstrated today, it's as we discussed, it's kind of a standalone product now. You put in a description, which is you can paste in or you can type in. Where you get that description from, it may be a commercial invoice, it may be from your other existing trade software. And what our software produces is a classification, an HS classification number, specifically HTS US classification number, and gives you information about the additional partner government agencies that might be like USDA, FDA, that might need to be consulted on this particular import. It will give you information about anti-dumping cases. It'll give you information about the special classifications like the Section 301 China tariffs and other additional tariffs which may apply that, we have completely cross-referenced the tariff book, et cetera. And then finally, it'll give you a report which will synthesize all this information in a PDF form. Lots of our customers use that to send to their customers, right? They do a classification for a customer. The customer doesn't just want the number. They want to know, like, why is it classified this way? What other things need to know? Everything that you see in the software ends up in that report in a nice PDF format that you can send to the customers. That's where we are today. Where we're going is improving the core algorithms so that we get more and more automatic. Lots of people come to us and say, hey, can you do automatic classification? Right now, we are fully human in the loop. And the reason that we are is because these things are hard. But our software, even in its current state, will automatically classify lots of things. You put in a description and it'll go straight to the number because it's straightforward. The examples that we showed today needed a little bit more information potentially, and so we asked for that. So we're moving more towards an automatic classification, and again, why is that? Because the volume of things that are coming in is just going up and up and up, and the number of people that doing this work is not going up and up, and we need more of an AI assist. We're also going to more integration with existing software systems so that you don't have to just put in your description and then copy out the code, that it can come in via an API. We can bring it in bulk. You can share it with your entire team. We can automatically classify, say, some number, let's say 80% of the things, and the 20% that we can't automatically classify, you can do workflows with your team members to say, okay, you do these five, you do these five, et cetera. You can parcel them out. Everybody can work on them together. We can get all the numbers, on the bulk at the end, and it can go back into the system that it came from. That's where we're going.
Nice. No, that's a good roadmap there, and I'm really excited to see that. And usually you say in the next few years, but the way technology moves, it's in the next few months. So really excited. Yeah, great. Anything else, Shannon, on your end?
That we have been told that automatic classification is the way forward, and we are actively working not only on a solution for that, but on a partner to work with us on that. So it is coming sooner rather than later.
Right. Awesome. Well, thank you guys again. Remind us of your website and where people might find you, and I guess where they can reach out.
Yeah, QuickCode.ai. You can find lots of information about the software. There's videos there to show you how to use the software, what it's capable of. And also, most importantly, there's links there to sign up. It's free to sign up. Up to 10 classifications per month is completely free forever. And when you do that, you get access to the software, all of the built-in goodness of the software, the built-in searchable HTS US schedule, the built-in searchable cross rulings. All those are always up to date. We scrape those websites every day to get all the latest information. We also have WCO explanatory notes. Because of our license with the WCO, those are only available to paying customers. Because WCO sells that themselves, they don't want us giving it away for free, but we've licensed it. So if you become a paying customer of ours, then you get a subscription to the WCO explanatory notes as well. So it's another feature that we built in. But for the free tier customers, like I said, it's always free. You get all the goodness out of the software except for those WCO explanatory notes. And I would encourage all your listeners to at least go give us a try.
Yeah, why not? It's free, right? So let's, yeah, awesome. Okay, well, thank you all again. Really enjoyed this, and for everyone that's listening, check our show notes because you will get a lot more information. You'll get whatever the website for QuickCode. You'll get Joe and Shannon's contact info, LinkedIn, whatever they might want to provide. And I'm also going to drop in the link for how you can watch this video. So again, it may be on YouTube, it may be on our websites. One way or another, you'll get to it. You'll get to watch it, and it will come out simultaneous with the audio. That way, you're not wondering, a few months down the road where it is. So anyway, thank you all. Thank you very much, and looking forward to seeing you again at an upcoming conference, I'm sure.
Are you going, Lalo, to ICPA in San Antonio?
Yes. So
we'll see you there.
Cool. So then we'll see you there. Yeah. So when we air this show, it'll be, I guess, a week before we go out there. So we're looking forward to seeing you guys out there then. Awesome.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Awesome. Have a great day.
Thanks very much.
Thank Paulo.
Appreciate
Bye.
it.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much for joining us. Simply Trade is brought to you by the generous contributions of Global Training Center. You can follow the show and GTC on LinkedIn or Twitter and other social networks. Make sure you check out the show notes in the description for a full rundown of today's show with all the important links. Also, make sure that you share this with a friend and subscribe on your favorite streaming platform. We really like hearing from you. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to rate and review wherever you listen to this podcast. If you or someone you know would like to be a guest on the show or would like to sponsor Simply Trade or suggest any topic you would like for us to discuss, please contact us via email at simplytrade@globaltrainingcenter.com, or you can DM us on Twitter at simplytradepod. Thank you again for the privilege of your time. Happy trading. Simply Trade is not a law firm or an advisor. The topics and discussions conducted by Simply Trade hosts and guests should not be considered and is not intended to substitute legal advice. You should seek appropriate counsel for your own situations. These conversations and information are directed towards listeners in the United States for informational, educational, and entertainment purposes only and should not be substituted for legal advice. No listener or viewer of this podcast should act or refrain from acting on the basis of information on this podcast without first seeking legal advice from counsel. Information on this podcast may not be up to date depending on the time of publishing and the time of viewership. The content of this posting is provided as is. No representations are made that the content is error-free. The views expressed in or through this podcast are those of the individual speakers, not those of their respective employers or Global Training Center as a whole. All liability with respect to actions taken or not taken based on the contents of this podcast are hereby expressly disclaimed.